Writing love letters, of course, was the best method. Without genuine emotions, how could he write love letters? Prince Korasoff suggested, "Why make them up yourself? I have 6 volumes of love letter drafts in my suitcase, suitable for all types of women, including the most demure ones." Here, Stendhal mercilessly satirizes the aristocracy, who, despite receiving the best education and having endless wealth and resources, lack genuine emotions. Even their love letters are pre-written, a step-by-step guide. It's like asking AI today to write a love letter for any girl. It couldn't be simpler, right? Julien found this method superb, so he began to court Madame de Fervaques. And she was moved by the excellently written love letters responding to Julien's advances. Thus, it's important to read extensively, as a well-read person is less likely to fall into the trap of superficiality. As Julien and Madame de Fervaques started exchanging affectionate letters, Mathilde could no longer bear it. Consumed by jealousy, she couldn't stand it anymore. She knelt at Julien's feet, saying, "Despise me if you will, but you must love me. I can't live without your love." After these words, she fainted. Julien's vanity was immensely satisfied. He had finally conquered the Marquis's daughter. At this point, however, Mathilde was still unsure whether to make her relationship with Julien public. She thought marrying Julien would be beneath her, but the romantic passion made her feel that loving Julien was a grand, rebellious act worth pursuing. This complex psychology kept pulling her in different directions. Their love was like a tango, with one advancing while the other retreated, filled with intricate dynamics. In the book it says, "If Julien were a poor noble, this love affair would only be a mundane, foolish thing, an ordinary bad romance, not worthy of my desire. Such love lacks the characteristics of great passion." What is great passion? It involves overcoming immense difficulties and unpredictable situations. Finally, we can understand Mathilde's thoughts. Not long after, a decisive moment arrived. Mathilde became pregnant. This revelation enraged the Marquis, but what could he do? His daughter was pregnant and insisted on marrying Julien. The Marquis had to relent, first agreeing to break Mathilde's previous engagement. Then, he decided to elevate Julien's status. To avoid ridicule about Julien's humble origins, thus preserving his dignity. Under the Marquis's arrangements, Julien acquired land, a noble title, and even a commission as a lieutenant in the army. Julien had finally achieved his ambitious rise from a poor carpenter's son to a nobleman. Julien's ambition was on the brink of realization, but fate had a cruel twist in store, waiting to strike like an assassin. One day, the Marquis received a letter from Madame de Rênal. She explicitly detailed Julien's affair with her, a married woman, in the letter stating, "This man is both poor and greedy, utterly hypocritical, specializing in seducing weak, unfortunate women to climb the social ladder. Though difficult to express, I must add that I believe Julien lacks any religious principles. I can't help but think his way to success in high society is by seducing the most respectable women. He appears charming and sophisticated, using literary phrases as a guise, but his ultimate goal is to dominate the household and their property, leaving others in endless disaster and regret." The truth in the letter enraged the Marquis. Julien's dreams of upward mobility were shattered in an instant. When you rely on others for your success, the moment they withdraw their support, you can fall flat. Julien, blinded by his ambitions and unable to see this fundamental flaw, was infuriated that his noble future was being destroyed by others. In a rage, he rushed to a gun shop, bought a pistol, and stormed into the church, where he found Madame de Rênal and shot her twice. As a result of the shooting, Julien was imprisoned. Reading this, one might think his death was inevitable, but it wasn't. Stendhal arranged a twist in Julien's fate. As Shakespeare said, Desire is like a burning coal. It must be cooled, or it will burn the heart. This speaks of consequences. Or as the Chinese saying goes, heaven is watching what man does. Retribution will come when the time is right. Julien's inability to control his desires led him down a path of scheming and unethical actions. One day, these uncontrollable desires would inevitably turn against him. While imprisoned, Julien began to reflect on the meaning of his life. Life was short, and he had already experienced extreme highs and lows at a young age. Julien finally returned to his original ideals, pondering his initial aspirations. Where did Julien's journey begin? As a young man, he simply didn't want to end up like his father and brothers, selling their labor to make a living. He wanted to study hard and change his fate. This was commendable. He was diligent and intelligent. However, the decadence of high society misled him. He constantly desired more, aiming for things beyond his reach, and foolishly believed he could achieve success through shortcuts. But all shortcuts, though seemingly smooth, hide deep abysses. Julien, from his humble origins, abandoned the steady path, driven by greed to seize everything he desired. Success came too easily, driving him mad. He abandoned his principles in pursuit of fame, sacrificed love for power, and ultimately lost himself, leading to a dead end. Imprisoned, Julien no longer cared about others' opinions. He wrote a letter to Matilda, which I will read to you. From this moment on, I forbid myself to write or utter your name again. Do not mention me again, not even to my son. Silence is the only way to honor my memory. In the eyes of ordinary people, I am a murderer. At this critical moment, allow me to speak the truth. You will forget me. This calamity advises you not to mention me to anyone. These years can remove much of the fantasy and adventurous spirit from your character. You should have lived among the heroes of the Middle Ages. Now that disaster has struck, display their strong character. What is to happen should occur in secret, hopefully without affecting your reputation. Consider using a pseudonym. A year after my death, you can marry someone else. I ask you to do this, and I command you as your husband. Do not write to me again. I will not respond. Though I don't feel entirely wicked, I must decide to say nothing more from now on. This letter is complex and can be seen as Julien's final confession. Did he repent? After sending the letter, Julien became more lucid. For the first time, he felt deeply unfortunate. Ambition had led him into new worlds, to the center of storms, making him believe he could conquer the world. But now, my life is over, he realized, and everything turned out to be an illusion. At this moment, Julien found death not so terrifying. His life had been a long preparation for misfortune, which included death. However, Julien received news that Madame de Renal, whom he shot, had survived and received medical treatment.